thank you for being here today. For our viewers out there, if you want to really get a vibe from this gentleman, you can go to Instagram, Ink Pray Love. And I want to talk to you because before I met you, I was watching you online and got to see a bit of your journey, glimpses of your journey. And as you see people online, you get all this really great expression of who they are today, what they're up to. And in my own journey, as I just mentioned to, as we were talking before we started recording, is that the way that I learn about a person is through inquiry of past, present, and future. And so I want to know, Aren, because you are a global nomad. You're not just like a local person here in our city in Vancouver, where I live, as I am not a local person here as well. Tell me a bit about, growing up and your life, and then we're going to lead into today, and then we'll go into tomorrow. So tell me about life growing up.
That's a big story.
Yeah, I can. Well, I got some time.
Weird dude.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
No, it's my pleasure. Yeah. Beautiful home.
Yeah.
I grew up in East Van.
Yeah.
And I grew up not cool. I was chubby. I had braces. I had glasses. Sure. I had asthma. I had a gap in my teeth. I was the slowest runner in the whole school.
Wow.
I wasn't brown enough for the brown kids, and I was too brown for the white guys or whatever. It was not fun. I was bullied. I started also then shifting. I got a lot of concussions in ice hockey growing up.
Okay.
So I had
you're sporty.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was always playing sports, but I got a concussion every year for about 5 years in a row.
Okay.
I shouldn't have kept with kickboxing and ice hockey. And so that started changing my brain chemistry. As I look back on it now, I saw that I shifted. I was a gifted student before then, and then finding a grow up, smoking tons of weed and getting concussions is not like the brain health. That's the opposite of a nootropic, right? So I realize now what unresolved trauma does to us if we don't handle it correct. I didn't have the tools to do it then. Nobody talked about breath work or types of trauma-informed therapy at that age. It was just kind of like, whatever, man, I'll just smoke some weed. I'll be okay.
Yeah, drown it out.
I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
And, exactly. So that was 18
At that age, you're also if this is what the future holds, what more? This is crazy.
It was so crazy. Started kickboxing, and that shifted me because I learned honor and respect, and I found a mentor at Franco's, and he took me under his wing, and I started, after 2 years teaching there. First, I just wanted to sweep the mats and stay there because it was my safe place.
Sure.
And I found a place that had community.
Yeah.
And then I had a place in the community myself, and then I was learning a skill that kept me fit, kept my mind sharp. I was starting getting good at it. And these were like, oh, wait a minute. If you have people around you learning something positive to gain a skill that will help you in your life, this is the first thing that I actually felt like, oh, this works. This is cool.
So it's interesting to me, talking about community. Today, there's so many associations of such good, positive things that happen. You started to learn that early in your life. Like even me, I thought maybe certain friend circles were my community, and maybe not. Now I've got kind of a global community of friends sort of everywhere, but you started to really reflect on how important community was, which is interesting.
I looked back, I saw at the time, I felt safe, and finally I could have friends that were, different. And then when I looked back at it later, I formulated what the recipe to building a better life was. But this wasn't like a happy ending at that age. And now when I realize that, it's because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. I had no purpose.
Yes.
I remember really thinking I had no place in community, in society.
Yes.
I just did whatever I wanted because soon I didn't work at Shaw anymore. I was making too much money. I didn't care. I was partying, and it's like, wait, I'm not doing anything that's worth anything. It's just money. And when you have lots of money and then you realize, oh, what else? You're just sad.
So early on in the conversation, we talked about not having the tools. We didn't know about breathwork, didn't know about the conscious sort of life that we could live, which I'm learning about as a man. I'm kind of, I'm getting to this age where I'm like, okay, work is in flow. So what more can my brain do? Yeah. I want to learn about spiritualism. I want to learn. I think that's why I resonated to just seeing your posts and seeing the things that you're up to. And I'm like, this is a guy I could really learn from or even connect with. And having that sort of and we've had those conversations now. And so I want to ask you, tell me about the work that you've learned about and the journey on the spiritual and tell me about that life. Yeah.
I knew there was no coincidence that I had to go through that amount of suffering and crazy shit. To then I was really unhappy. It was hard. I almost died a bunch of times. It was crazy. To then go into the path of light. And that started with actually reconnecting with my culture. I went to India and had these moments that were like too coincidental. They were more like coincidence than coincidence. That meant like, okay, I'm on the right path. And meditation, and finally I'm able to sit with myself, and yoga as a vehicle towards meditation started opening my mind and opening me up to the magic of the universe.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, wait, if we look for the magic and what's actually synchronized for us,
Yes.
more will happen.
Yes.
And so I started believing this. I was studying hella books on the universe, on the fabric of what existence is, and on intention. So then I went to India. First, before India, I went to this Vajrayana Buddhism conference in Bhutan. I met this guru there because he was another Indian guy, and everyone else was like Thai and different types of monks all over Asia. And so he stuck out like a sore thumb, and he was amazing. And so he, as soon as I saw him, I knew I had to talk to him. And so I beelined over to him and got to connect with this guru, and he just instantly, I felt like a little boy again. Around his presence, I could just feel pure love.
That's right.
And it hit me in a way that I couldn't even explain. And I just knew I had to be around him. And he goes, come to my ashram in India. I was like, yeah, if a guru tells you to come to his ashram, you go to his ashram.
Yeah.
So 6 months later, I rocked up and I did an India trip.
Yeah.
Me and the girlfriend that I had went to Bali with from here, we broke up, and so she went back to Vancouver, and I went on my spiritual journey.
Wow.
God bless her. We're still friends. And so what happened out of that was I went to 3 meditation retreats and then the ashram.
Wow.
And the first meditation retreat was super difficult. It was my first 9-day silent meditation retreat.
Wow.
I kept thinking about pizza and sex.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted.
Okay.
I was like, this
Logical. Pizza and sex.
the cravings were so strong.
Yeah.
And then after that, the second one was okay, a little bit better. Then the third one was cool. I was like, okay, I'm getting places and getting kind of the hang of this. And then I got to the ashram, and it was powerful. That was I could see yogic sciences are on point. That really does. That technology is made to heal your mind and body.
Wow.
That's what it's there for.
Yes.
So okay, this is a good thing to do. And then when I went back to Bali, I was having the idea. That's where I had the idea for my first business. Conscious Arts Tattoo Shop was in that ashram.
Yes.
Or in the other meditation retreat. And then I was developing the idea. And if I had a tattoo shop that gave back as seva as part of our business plan.
That's right.
That's going to work.
Seva is giving back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we started funding a school for mentally disabled Balinese children. And instantly the business was successful. It was the most successful shop in the city at the time.
Great.
So it's cool. And I really realized, okay, a part of a spiritual practice is giving.
Yes.
So actually having that as part of your practice is
Yes.
be a good human.
Yeah.
Do things for
Absolutely.
others.
Absolutely.
That is a practice.
I think that's the main reason we do all the things we do, to achieve.
Yeah.
To be able to give and help. Yeah.
And that's a practice.
That's right.
That makes you, that heals you. And I
Yes.
really realized that I had so much trauma to heal, conditioning. I talked like a East Van dope boy, I was bad, and I was able to start reading books and softening and deconditioning. And that was a spiritual practice for me.
Wow.
To let go and forget and let go and forget. And then I met my buddy Dave, a business partner. He's a meditation teacher. And when I met him, it was a hot tub on my birthday. And I just we looked over at each other, and it was kind of like, we just knew we had to connect. And we dropped in. We must have past lives together. We both figured that for sure. And in Chinese numerology, my number is a 33, and that means master connector, master communicator. His is a 44. He's a strategist general. And so we've been in war together and side by side, doing the thing.
So interesting.
It was super interesting. And so his brain is on another level. He's the most developed human I've ever met in my whole life. He's just a super genius, right?
Wow.
Crazy. And also came from a rough area in London, half Punjabi, half Jewish. We just vibed. So being around him expanded my consciousness rapidly because he got me into meditation. He was teaching me how to meditate further. And his mission was to heal the world and teach meditation to the world. That was his seva. And I was like, okay, I'll help you on your mission. Let's do this. I just built a business, Karma House. He helped me fund a bit of it when we ran out of funding.
Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, I'll help you with yours. You help me with this vision I have to build YogiLab. And it was a business around personal development.
Wow.
And that was cool because it developed me at a higher level. Having a business that levels you up is a flex. It's so cool.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really important to do that because just like having a podcast, interviewing people that you can learn from.
Fascination.
You just learn from that. It's very cool.
Do you when you made the decision to show up in your own life, did you start to see these people just coming into your life, good people, guides, angels, as you call them,
Definitely.
I feel that in my own life.
It's wild. I mentioned this to a bunch of people that are like, I'm coaching and that, want to shift their lives around, and they want to change their friend circle.
Yeah.
I coach a bunch of drug dealers and, a bunch of guys that are making a lot of money, but, legit and illegit, that aren't feeling grounded. And then
They're not happy.
They're not happy,
Yeah.
right? And one of the first things is if you clear yourself out and you start first detox, like clear yourself out physically, mentally, spiritually, and you clear your channel, then you can become a channel. You can be a conduit for God to come through and that energy above us to actually help us above all around, And then you can start seeing the universe communicating to you.
Yeah.
And then people will come popping in and you'll magnetize magic to come into your life. So all this awesome shit happens to me routinely because I feel like I keep clearing my energy, clearing what I'm going through.
I talk a lot about and share a lot when I meet people, and I consciously will gravitate to like, let's go talk to other men and see what they're going through, because I want to know as a man, do you have the same thoughts, as aspirations of what is the next step for you after you've started to achieve things in your career, started to achieve things in family, and then like, what is next? And I'm hitting this spiritual bend. So are you starting to think and see men come forward and be more into their intuition, into their karmic practices, manifestation, as we call them, right? Because I'm there.
It's so cool. Yeah. I love it because I feel like I can give people permission to be soft and open up, and hey, we can all have special powers.
Absolutely,
we all do. We just have to
there's room for all of us.
We just have to open up to it.
Yeah,
and tone down and detox the negative things that are coming into our life, like getting lit with your friends in a parking lot. That's not worth it. That's not nearly as cool as learning to be happy on demand and learning to tap into your intuition, and then being able to read people, and then knowing that there's a person in your life for a reason and being able to spot it. That was amazing for me.
It's one thing for you to embody that, right? But to take leadership in that space, to the pictures with you and Aubrey, with you and Lucas Mack, like all these interesting people that everyone is looking at. You were over here, and now you're like, wow, let's go look at the real spiritual realm of how big can we go? Oh yeah, I want to hear about that.
Yeah, the Aubrey story is interesting.
I'd love to hear that. Yeah.
So Lucas Mack is a breathwork facilitator.
It's incredible.
He's amazing.
I was like, if he could sit here with us and talk and just be enlightening to me, I just find him amazing.
He's the dude. He's an epic human.
Yeah.
And
as is Aubrey Marcus.
Aubrey's a king. Like if I felt around king energy, holy shit, he has king energy.
Yeah.
In a good way, like a good king. He's the type of king I would want to be. He leads with heart. Right. Yeah. And so when I was, me and Lucas have been good friends for a long time, since Bali. And Dave, actually, Meditation Dave, the one I was just talking about, he met them in a Vipassana on a bus, because they were in a Vipassana, they couldn't talk, but they all did it. Hella, Lucas's
10 days.
partner, 10 days in silence.
10 days Vipassana. So my wife, Nisha, did that many years ago, and it's 10 days, no speaking, no. And have you done this?
I've done 10.
You've done 10 Vipassanas.
Yeah. I served at 3.
That's like from where you are to talking about Vipassana. I have not done one yet.
It's cool, man. We should go do it.
Maybe that's what
I want to go serve it one again. Serving's way easier than sitting.
I could imagine.
Serving, you get to talk, you get make food for everyone. You're in seva vibe the whole time.
Sure.
So serving's fun.
But doing it, sitting in it?
And sitting in it, though, is fucking intense. The first 5 days, you're like,
imagine being silent for 10 days.
Fuck my life. And then
no
day 7, days 8, you're in bliss. You're like, oh my God, I just cleaned out so much shit in my system.
Wow.
Like so much mental impurities. I think everybody should do a Vipassana. Like it's worth it.
Wow.
It's like climbing a mountain.
Yes.
It's intense. But what you get out of it is very valuable.
Yes.
So, Dave was a meditation Vipassana teacher. But I had done my first one in Burma.
Yeah.
First, and then when we got to connect, I had just came back from Burma to do it right when I launched Conscious Arts Tattoo Shop, that first little business. And so we got to connect over that.
Yeah.
And so the Vipassana practice is wild. And so Dave's done like 30 something. He's a superhuman. And he met Lucas and Hella, and then he instantly knew me and Lucas should connect.
Wow.
And when Lucas and I saw each other, we instantly felt super comfortable with each other.
Yes.
And we did some readings now recently, and I had a psychic tell me, "Oh, you guys had past lives together. You're in a mystery school together."
Wow.
Yeah, super funny.
Wow.
And him and Hella. So we're that's why we're so comfortable around each other.
That's beautiful,
cool, right?
Yeah.
And so I was at the Akali Singh Gurdwara here in Burnaby.
Sure.
Or I guess Vancouver.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was building Lotus House, and that business fell into my lap. That's a whole story. But
Yeah.
I was at this place, and it was in between. We were doing renovations, and I had like an hour or so to spare in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I knew Akali Singh was close by because the shop's on Commercial. It's not too far, 15, 10-minute drive. So I was like, I could go meditate by myself there. And I know Tuesday afternoon at like 1, no one's there.
Yeah, sure.
So I had the whole upstairs to myself.
Great.
So I'm like, cool. That's a vibe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like having the whole temple to myself.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Special, right?
Yeah.
So I go up there by myself to have a good like 20-minute sit alone.
Yeah.
But this day was special. This day I walked up and I just felt in my heart something deep.
Yeah.
And I was looking at this photo of Guru Nanak and I was just like, well, that's the OG Bhakti Yogi. That's the original one. That's
Sure.
like the Seva Bhakti. Like I feel him and I'm like, whoa, it's very heartfelt.
Oh.
I feel a different energy when I look at Guru Gobind Singh, who's like warrior guy. You know,
Sure.
he's a vibe. And I'm like, that. I feel like I channel both of them. Those are the two aspects, like
incredible.
pillars of guides
Sure.
that I really feel. I want to
Sure.
be the prayer, the bhakti, the conditional lovingness, that just connecting to God, and then I want to be the one that will use his sword if he needs to.
Wow.
Those two are really really beautiful. And so that day I was meditating and I just asked a question out loud and I was just like, God, allow me to serve deeper. I just want to serve at a deeper level. That's it. How can I serve deeper? How can I make a bigger impact? I just want my life to be worth it.
Wow.
I just want to be able to do some shit that was worth it.
Yeah.
That people were like, cool, good life. And I could look back
matters
on it.
to you.
Exactly.
Matters
That's
to
the
you.
main thing is it
And
matters to you.
I think that's the biggest thing is that so many people do this to be seen versus just seeing themselves.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. And I think I'm starting to lean towards like, how do I show up for myself? Am I complete for myself? And that's why I appreciate the story so much.
No,
yeah.
it's awesome. You got to be complete for yourself to then be able to be somebody for others, right?
Yeah.
And so at this moment, I just had a full body tingle. And I
Okay.
noticed that was like my tell that I was tapped into something powerful.
Yeah.
My skin will tingle.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, that was like a communication to something
Yeah.
deeper. I was like, cool. Okay, let me go into that a bit more.
Yeah.
So I started going into that feeling into my heart of like, can I connect deeper? Can I serve deeper? I just show me a way that will make this worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll show up too.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool. Okay, I had a brilliant meditation. I had one that beautiful and very like I could feel it in my body. So it was like a direct communication. It was wild. So I walked downstairs and I get a notification on my phone. And Lucas messages me. He's like, yo, you want to come to Fit for Service with Aubrey Marcus? I'm like, I'm building a shop right now. Like, when? He's like, oh, this weekend, book a flight. I asked Aubrey. He said, you can come and just show up to his house. Like, I can just show up and come with them.
It's a serious thing because,
Whoa.
I mean, listen, as widespread Aubrey's reach is, he's still a very sacred person about who he has personally around him.
Yeah.
One of my great friends and a mentor to me, Dan Engel, is Dr. Dan Engel has spent a lot of time with Aubrey.
Yeah, I met him there. He's dope.
Oh, yeah, right?
Yeah, he's so cool.
So he was here in his home a few weeks ago, and we were just having discussions, and I did a lot of deep work with him, and I have to say, like, those are like superpowers of the world of consciousness of modern like masculine sort of spiritualism to me. I'm really feeling that. So tell me about that experience.
This was hilarious
Wow.
because so it was Fit for Service. That's his like their community event, and me and Lucas and Hella rock up like a couple days late because they're super busy. So
Sure.
I just tagged along with them.
Yes.
They rented a cool party bus for us to take from Phoenix to Sedona.
Wow.
So we had a fun vibe,
That's
catching
right.
up.
That's
I haven't
right.
seen them for like a couple of years. COVID, my accident.
Is that where Aubrey lives? Sedona?
He has a property in Sedona.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
mostly in Austin.
Okay, yeah.
So we rock up, and today was the Friday of the event. So 2 days have already passed, and it was a ecstatic dance, like a costume party. And the costume party is you dress up as your shadow side, and I'm like, or your integrated shadow or something. And I was like, yo, I didn't have no
So
fucking costume, man.
fascinating.
So I did the funniest costume, and in the villa that Lucas Hellas and I got, we bought like a case of sparkling water. So I took the cardboard and I cut out a sign and I wrote "Hood Rich" on it because my unintegrated shadow was I still want to be hood rich. I still like gold. I still like nice cars. Like that's not gonna leave me.
Yeah.
That's just in my body forever.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
spiritual as I go, I still like a nice car.
Yeah.
I still like nice shit. Right.
Yeah.
I just don't. It doesn't mean the same thing for me anymore.
Wow.
It doesn't make me who I am.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, but I don't attach myself to
Sure.
it or my worth
Absolutely.
to it. Right.
Absolutely.
So I wrote hood rich with a bunch of dollar signs, and I took a cell phone cable and punched it through. So that was like the necklace, and I wore that as my costume,
Wow.
just hood rich, the ghettoest costume you can imagine, right? And everybody else had these full on like epic costumes.
I can imagine.
And I rock up with a cardboard sign, right? And people would see it, they'd laugh. They're like, hood rich, hilarious. Like, it actually got the most reception. People were like, that's a funny costume, right?
Yeah.
So simple. And Aubrey comes down, and they're gonna hold this meeting for all the breathwork facilitators. This is like the people of the people, like the masters.
I can imagine.
Dan Engel, Blue,
Yes.
Lucas, Hella,
Yes.
Kyle Kingsbury, all these like very high level people that I'm like so impressed to actually meet. Right?
Yeah.
I'm hood rich.
Yeah.
I have no business being there. I'm not a facilitator.
Sure.
I'm just their friend. So
Yes.
I'm like, yo, does anybody need water?
Is it all men?
No. It was
men and women.
Lucas, Hella, Blue, a bunch of like high level females.
Sure.
So it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Aubrey comes down, and it's a costume party, right? So Aubrey comes down in a Genghis Khan outfit.
Wow.
And he's like, his unintegrated shadow is like a conqueror.
Wow.
And he's an intimidating human.
Oh, yeah.
He just comes, he's stacked, man.
He looks strength.
He's
He
a
looks
big
pillar of
guy,
strength,
and he's wearing like a fur hat, the fur
Wow.
hat, the Genghis Khan hat, a fur
imagine.
coat. And I go in like, hey man, thank you so much for having me. Like go to shake a hand. He's like, no, bring it in, brother. And like comes and gives me this hug, and I'm like, oh my God. So we're around this fire circle, and he's like laying them out like a chief, like a king leading people into battle. Like, we're gonna do this massive breath work. It's the pinnacle of that weekend.
Wow.
And he's going through the
What an
soundtrack.
opportunity.
And
Wow.
I'm just there like, I have nothing to offer. Like, I'm not just, does anyone need water? Like, I have no business being in this meeting.
Sure.
But I don't know where else I was gonna go.
Yeah.
So I'm just here.
Yeah.
And so I just feel bad, like, like I'm just here. But I don't know anybody else there. Maybe I just go look at, like, he has crystals all over his property, some cool shit.
But do you eventually get to this place, and I'm starting to like be comfortable with being present?
Oh, that was cool.
Is to be like, I'm meant to be here.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Look what happened next.
I can't wait.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Aubrey's in his speech, and out of nowhere, something falls from the sky on my head, on the crown of my head.
Right
Like,
there
on,
and then.
on my head.
Physical.
Right, physically falls on my head and flies off. And I go, what the fuck was that? Like, out loud, right? Like, what the fuck was that? And everyone turns and looks at me. I'm like, oh my God. Like, what the fuck? I just said, like, out loud, broke everyone's concentration and just said, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And it landed on the guy next to him as a grasshopper.
Wow.
So a grasshopper fell out of nowhere on my head and then hit the other guy. And I'm like, sorry guys, grasshopper. We're like, okay, all good. But then the grasshopper lands on Blue, and she's like, what the fuck? And she freaks out. And then it lands on the other person, and it hit every single person.
Wow.
And then the grasshopper landed on Aubrey last and was crawling up his shoulder while he's trying to finish it, right? And so we were all laughing. We were like, yo, grasshopper energy. And that was like my initiation into the group. They're like, it started with Aren.
Wow.
And we like looked it up, and it meant something significant.
Wow.
So that was like a moment that actually kind of like brought me in.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it was wild.
That's
and
incredible.
Blue told me after that my energy was like, I seamlessly integrated. She was super happy I was there. Everybody was. I had a crazy deep experience in the breath work.
Yeah.
Like, very cathartic. And Aubrey comes over me, because him and I got to drop in his kitchen at the end of that first day. And so during the breath work, he goes, remember what you told me about the accident, brother?
Yeah.
Remember what you told me in the kitchen? Now's the time. And as soon as he said that, it was like a shamanic rattle or something. I was like, and like full on exorcism cry, snot. It was crazy. And I felt like I healed so much, and it really reaffirmed that being like, I hate the term light worker because it's so played out and cheesy and it's like fucking like so cringe.
Yeah.
But being someone that wants to walk the path of the light, to help other people, to inspire others to level up and be happier and serve. That's a vibe.
I'll tell you this. It's one thing for somebody to just jump in and have a really good life and being like, hey, I want to help people. But you've been through adversity in your own journey. I'm not saying you were suffering in the world. You had things that definitely were hurting you through probably personal choice and ego and whatever is
I
going
got hit
on.
by a truck.
Yeah.
There's that.
Right?
Yeah, that wasn't my fault.
Right?
Yeah.
That wasn't
karmically probably my fault.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Yeah.
So sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But that story, like before
Yeah,
I
tell
went
me
to Fit
about
for
that.
Service, when about September 12th,
yeah, you're
2021,
right?
I was driving home, and a guy pulled out on the highway. I was driving on the highway on my Ducati and in Bali, and this guy pulls across 2 lanes of traffic, and I had no chance. I smoked this guy. Like, he didn't look. It was 100% his fault, right? And I broke both my legs, my pelvis, my elbow, my Achilles, my bladder, and severed my peroneal artery and my peroneal nerve. I could not move. Like I was fucking paralyzed on the ground, bleeding out. And I had to get myself help. This was at midnight on a highway. And I had to get people to stop and tell them what to do in Indonesian while my body's going into shock.
Oh my God.
And I severed the arteries. There's lots of blood coming out.
Wow.
And I get my ass to the hospital. And when I got picked up off the ground, the most intensely painful shit, and put into a stretcher into the ambulance, I literally was like, okay, I get it. Like I actually said out loud, I was just like, all right, I accept my karma, man. I accept this. Please don't let me be paralyzed. Please, God, like, please, I promise I'll be good. Please don't let me be paralyzed, because there's a good chance I could have been. I thought my back was broken, but my pelvis was broken. So it shifted backwards. So I had back pain also.
Wow.
And it changed my life massively. You know, I was in a wheelchair for 3 months. I was I was disabled. I was in the hospital for 17 days. Didn't see the sun. You know, had 5 surgeries in 6 months.
In a country like that is
in
away
Indonesia,
from the first
it's not,
world.
that's a C plus or C, sorry, in healthcare.
Yeah.
You know, I was on crutches for 8 months.
Wow.
I was on a cane for 2 months. I was handicapped for a full year.
Wow.
And then, you know, happened to come back to Vancouver and for a cousin's wedding. And
Yeah.
I surprised my whole family because they didn't think I could be cleared to fly.
Wow.
And I already bought tickets before the accident. And man, it was crazy seeing everybody because I wanted to come back to my home city as a hero.
How did
not
they
a
see you?
handicap.
How did they see you?
They're happy I was alive. Everybody that I saw back in Vancouver was just
great.
so happy I was alive.
Wow, beautiful.
So it was a nice reception to see
Yeah.
everybody. But going to a wedding and, like, you know, marrying,
It's a different feel
it
altogether.
sucks being on crutches. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck happened to you? Why is your head
Yeah,
tattooed?
yeah.
You're just a weird guy.
Yeah, you're
Did you get shot?
you're a
Everybody thought I got
different
shot.
Oh, interesting.
That was a funny thing. Then we started playing that joke on people.
Could have been.
Yeah,
You never know.
Actually,
Right.
So then people would be, I'd walk into like a store or, like, you know, Cactus or something, and people would be like, oh no, what happened? I was like, I got shot 6 times. And it was hilarious every time. It was just super funny to play that joke on people.
When you meet somebody who wants to work with you, for various reasons, they want to get out of the life that they're in, or gain some more perspective, or just advance whatever they're at. What is it? What does that look like to you when they approach you, and what does that work look like to you, and how are you creating opportunity to have clients like this? Yeah,
It's a fun process.
Yeah, tell me.
It's I really feel like that's my dharma now. That's really cool because I can help people find their higher self. So firstly is, what's your connection to your higher self, your version of God? What's your version of the best you, you know? And that's the
right.
version that's connected to a higher power.
That's right.
And how can you change the way you think to consistently invoke that part of you?
Yes.
So you're not thinking from a lower level you.
Yes.
And then there's way more opportunities to build and create and be happier.
Yes.
So I had this one client, brown guy, engineer, making like $300K a year,
Wow.
killing it.
Yeah.
But he'd go on like benders,
Yeah.
right? Savage
Sure.
benders, because he had a lot of trauma growing up.
Yeah.
A lot of trauma, and been
People
through
do.
Yeah.
A lot of pain out there.
And that's why they numb. That's why nothing's enough. That's why the fancy bullshit or drugs and benders and, you know, sex and all this. So I got him a couple good books to read, taught him how to meditate, gave him a couple of specific practices that were tuned into what he needed.
Yeah.
Connect to his heart.
Yeah.
Big time, right? And find self-love. So these specific yogic practices, mindfulness practices, things I learned over the years, and books paired with a plan to follow. So we have a plan to get you some more responsibility
Sure.
in his life and things that matter, and then get him into a role to be a leader. You know, eventually after a bit of work, you need to be leading somehow, some way, because then you
Yes.
have purpose.
Yes.
And then that's why it got me out, is that I don't need to get lit anymore because I have purpose. I have things that matter for me.
That's right.
And so that's kind of, it's a roadmap. First,
Back to Seva,
exactly.
serving.
And so he instantly working with me after, like, we just had our 5th session last week. He asked for a raise, 20K more. He got 20K raise, and then is going to take on a second client. So it'll be another 100 grand because he stopped partying so much, started practicing what I've been giving him, instantly got way happier. His eyes changed, his face changed after 1 month. It was crazy. So just by us being able to connect to ourselves in a way that we never connected before,
Yes.
so much opportunity opens up in the world because you're not wasting your time feeling shitty.
I've come to this place in my life where you know, I'm in gratitude all the time. It's just been like, oh my God, I'm so
good way
lucky.
to live.
Thank you. I'm so lucky. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But now I'm coming to this place where I want to help others. I want to be of service to others. And we have this conversation of gathering men and having those conversations, or being able to just rely on somebody or knowing that we're there, because I don't drink and I don't go like, you know, I mean, I have a good time if I'm out. I love to dance and all that stuff, but I'm not out there to like just like have frivolous conversations or frivolous relationships.
Yeah.
And so, and then that idea of what, like, you know, I used to hear about men's work, and I was like, what does that even mean? And then I had gone to this a men's weekend for a few days with some really incredible gentlemen. I was like, oh, this is what men's work is. It's like the real conversations of getting deep, vulnerable, and then blissing out, being happy around people, being happy around other men, to be like, you know, like it doesn't just have to be a good time. We can talk about our toughest times, and that can be sort of the bliss period as well for us. So I'm learning about that.
It is important to be able to go into your shit. That's
Yeah.
a big part of the process.
Absolutely.
Is can you look at what's happened to you and shift the paradigm that, because if we go into the crazy shit that's happened to us and we meet it instead of suppressing it,
Yes.
and instead of being like, oh my God, that happened to me, I'm a fucking victim. Like, do not do that. And we get out of that and we go, look at how I survived. I'm still here.
Yes.
Like, I'm still
You are
here.
still here.
I can still smile.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a win. I'm still breathing.
Looking at happiness.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
looking at you can still be useful.
Yes.
And I think that's a very redeeming quality.
Being relevant.
Yeah,
Being
exactly.
relevant.
Make it matter. Make what you do matter.
Absolutely.
And that's a massive antidote for depression, because you can look at what happened to you and still be a positive force in the universe. Okay, there you go. That's one thing to congratulate yourself about. Anybody can do the littlest thing today that'll make your impact here somewhat known. And from that, you can build off of that.
I love that.
And that gives you purpose. Then you don't have to feel so shitty, because it's hard to be shitty, feeling bad when you're doing good for others. It's difficult. Those things don't really vibe.
So tell me about today. Tell me about the new space that I came to in Commercial Drive.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lotus House. Sorry,
Yeah.
my other business is Karma House in Bali. So this was crazy because I was on crutches. I wasn't expecting to be in Vancouver. I was going to stay 3 weeks.
Yes.
Ended up a business falling into my lap. Ended up connecting with my ex-girlfriend after 10 years.
Sure. Yeah.
Ended up having another business, a car business, falling into my lap. Ended up having a surgery that caught a bone infection in my leg.
I saw that.
This was in 3 weeks, man.
Yeah.
So I was like, I guess I got to stick
Is
around.
this good, or is this giving me a sign?
It was so much that was happening so quick that I really realized that, okay, I'm meant to be in Vancouver for a bit. You know, maybe I'll go back and forth between Bali and there, but
you can go anywhere.
I'm needed here. And that's what my friend said that to me, and it struck me. And that's where a lot of these downloads actually came from was, wait a minute. He's like, bro, don't go back to Bali. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. Like my life is there. I got, 3 businesses still running there. I got, all this stuff, all my stuff, a truck, a car, all this shit.
Yes.
He's like, nah, Vancouver needs you.
Yeah.
We need you.
Wow.
And when he said that to me, it was like, whoa, I've never heard anyone say that to me.
Yeah.
And I really realized that's what came through for me very strong was, if we're needed, like people need us.
Yes.
That is important. That's why, being a parent is so gratifying. It gives you purpose in life, right?
Yes.
They say that's one of the most important things you can do in life.
Yeah.
Well, you're needed. And if you're not needed, it's so much easier to just go on benders and get fucked up because there's nothing else to do, right?
Nobody's following up.
But if you're showing up to a place to give people hope or to give people a job or you just do something that matters for other people, it's a secret key to life. So we opened Lotus House on Commercial Drive, tattoo barber salon, tattoo removal. Fun business, but it was such an honor to have a business in the last authentic neighborhood in East Van. And I grew up in East Van. To have a business there, and I had big mural painted, East Van needs you, because I want people to see the city needs us. And what I was seeing was, the city's in a crazy space. I've been gone 7 years. It's never been worse. Coming back, there's drug addicts running around everywhere, smoking crack in public around kids, and I'm just like, okay, what the fuck, right? That's intense. First, I was angry about it, downright. Like, why is no one doing anything about this? What the hell? And then I realized this is a more complex problem than we can imagine.
Absolutely.
There's a lot going
on.
Okay, I need to be more compassionate.
Absolutely.
I had Cal DeSange, he's became a good buddy of mine.
Yeah, Cal's great.
He's awesome. And I had him on my podcast, and I was also like, yo, what do we think about this? What do we do? And I had another guy that I did ibogaine with, Trevor, and he had on my podcast, and I asked him the same thing. And he's working with Dr. Gabor Mate, and they're like, this is the birthplace for sympathy. This is the place that we can have compassion for. We need to be helping. And I was like, okay, well, I don't think, and I asked Cal, I'm like, well, I don't think it's hard to help the people that are so far gone.
Yeah.
And there was a specific moment because I was building Lotus House. I was at the end of my day. I was exhausted. I'm on painkillers. I got metal in both my legs, my pelvis. You know, it's tough walking a full day. At the end of the day, I'm very swollen, right?
Sure.
But I was like, okay, go refill my prescription. I'm at Shoppers Drug Mart in Cole Harbour.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, this should not be happening in Cole Harbour, but hey, it's everywhere right now. This clearly a drug addict got caught stealing.
Wow.
And this is bad, man. I'm embarrassed about this. He was flipping out at the security officer, Punjabi guy. He's flipping out at him, and then this sweet old white lady who's like a manager or something.
Sure.
And he's like, "You guys fucking assaulted me!" And he's like making a scene, like he's screaming.
Yeah.
Literally, he just got caught stealing. That's it. You know? And they're just like, "Just leave, man. Like, just leave." But he wants to like have a thing about this.
Wow.
And I'm there just like, you know, buying my thing, self-checkout, and I just snapped. And I turned around and looked at this guy. I'm like, "You need to shut the fuck up, you fucking crackhead, and get the fuck out of here." Like I got really angry, right? And I was just like, "Oh, bad." He goes, "You think I'm a crackhead?" And I'm like, "That's exactly what you are. Now get the fuck out." And he's just like, "Yeah, well, you know what I think of you?" I'm like, "What?" You know, and I'm angry, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm like, "That's what I thought." And I'm gonna walk away. And he goes, "You're a trust fund baby with daddy's money." And I'm like,
"Oh,
okay, that's how I know you're high. My head's tattooed." Like, come on, bro.
Oh,
you know? But it struck me right away. I understood he didn't have good parents. That's him. That's a cry for help. He didn't have good parents. Clearly, if he thinks I'm a trust fund baby, he thinks everybody who had, you know, a decent life had, you know,
more than enough.
Was Richie rich, right?
Yeah.
So I understood that, and I was like, oh man. Okay, first of all, I fucked up there. I should not be saying that to people.
Sure.
You know, I'm supposed to be this conscious coach guy.
Yes.
And instead I'm, you know, Clint Eastwood. You know, I can't be doing that. That's not okay. I called Cal. I went to a Buddhist practice. I got counsel around that where I'm like, yo, I did something kind of stupid yesterday. Like I flipped out at somebody and I don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
That was shitty of me, you know? And Cal goes, well, that will happen. Like you were trying to defend Shoppers Drug Mart little manager lady. Like fair enough, right? But you know, I'm like, how can I help? I don't want to just complain about this problem.
Yes.
I want to do something. You can't just bitch about something. That's a lot of Vancouver things. You don't just bitch about it. Like, go do something, everyone. Do something.
Yes.
He's like, well, help the kids. And that's what he's doing with Kids Play Foundation.
Yes, that's right.
They're giving kids that are at risk of gang violence and addiction, they're giving them school programs.
We've created content with Cal and his team.
That's a vibe, you know? And I was like, okay, so I'll help the kids. That makes sense. And we need to have compassion there. So the East Van Needs You thing, to circle back to that, is so people in the city can get together and help. Do what we can.
Absolutely.
Do what we can. Just we're giving a discount to police officers and firefighters and ambulance drivers.
Sure.
We just want to do our way, but you know, what can we do as a city to help fix this problem? Because it takes more than just like politicians. Like we need us, capable humans.
It's that community again that needs to tap into.
Exactly.
And I think the thing is that it's one thing for us to say that it's needed, but it's for us to activate and create the opportunity for people to come together. And it's a bigger story that's going on out there, and it will continue until there are some resources. And you know, your vision and your view of helping people is so beautiful because you're relating to people's traumas, and you're relating to people's traumas similar to the ones that you had. And I wanted to thank you for being here today. And you know, there's a greater story that's going to come out of this, and I want people to follow you. Instagram, Ink Pray Love, is such a great place to see your work and see you shine. And
Ink _pray _love.
Yeah, I'll definitely share that. But even more so, I look forward to the work that we do together. I look forward to helping ourselves, in turn helping others, and that seva is so important. And to anyone out there that wants to connect or talk or learn more about men's work, or just like, you know, like things like meditation, or just want to connect with you, I encourage you to DM, connect, and it's the only way that you're going to really move forward is by actually taking action, and which is what you did in your life. And I appreciate that. I respect that. And from one man to another, I have to say that I'm so glad that you exist, because it allows me to know that there's possibilities for me to actually keep flourishing. It's like, you know, when we get to this place in life, we're thinking, oh yeah, we're done. We're ready to go. I don't need to do anymore. And you're still doing the work.
We'll never stop doing it.
We
have to keep rocket till the wheels fall off. Man, we got to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.